Okay. Good evening again. Good. Too hot? I'm good. I'm fine. You guys okay?
Good evening.
Okay, not too hot. Temperature's okay. Maybe might be sleep. Which one better? You got a hot you sleep or cold sleep? Yeah. Okay, when we're hot, we can turn off. Okay. I have this one here. It's on the May, keeping the heater next. Good evening, everyone. I'm sure you guys very warm in your bed. Anyway, it's wonderful. We in here. We'll be able to study about Buddhism. Tenets is not very convenient, not very easy to understand, but basically why we study this to keep learn for all the different tenets, different classes, different traditions. Therefore, we study that. Okay, good motivation for benefit of all other sentient beings. They become all pray, practice, or become great. Okay, and I'm not talking too much. Today we have to go finish this one. Yes, we have a lot of things to go. Okay. Time to go to. Okay. Yeah.
And so we have already talked up to the seventh chapter, right? Seventh topic now of the first tenet. And so we talked about the definition, division, etymology, the mode of asserting object, mode of asserting the object possessor, and then also the mode of asserting selflessness. And then the seventh one is now the presentation of grounds and paths. And so whatever kind of tenets we talk about or discuss about, it should include the presentation of these three, the basis, the path, and the result. So up to that, it has already presented about the basis. And so actually, all these the presentation, of the two truths, compassionate truth and ultimate truth, and the presentations of the object and object possessor are all included in the presentation of the basis. And so then in the presentation of the path, then it explains what kind of paths we have to practice or meditate on, and what kind of obstacles we have to overcome in order to be able to gain the realizations of those paths and so forth.
아니 딘디가 람데 곰네 텔라 녀바싱이가 다 드바다 파파나 아니 레오카리 속고요. 그래서 다 담아들에.
And then after practicing those paths and abandoning the obstructions on the path, what kind of result one will achieve. So that is explained in the presentation of results.
제가 강도 남주로다 변나 담보 수술 레카이 지거나 레카 가리타리 제고 생각을 아니 레카드 제발라 제비 갈았다 레카 가리카리 제고 다 제네 소설은 레고 가리 도나다 배칭 줘야 되고 예선 없이.
It's just like doing some kind of job or project. So what do you have to do at the beginning to prepare for the project? And then in the middle, what do you have to do, to carry on that project, right? And then at the end, then what will you achieve after completing that project? So like that. So this is similar to that. The basis, the path, and the result.
뭐지? 오케이. 아드네 당가서 담바 살림진 남자 셰파라 빠자당 살림진 남자 니 셰파세.
And then in the 7th, the presentation of the grounds and paths, and it says this is explained in 2 parts: object of abandonment and actual presentation of grounds and paths.
다 담보 빠자 될라 아니 빠자라 아니 드와라 다 빠자 되다 드와라 될라 뇨모친다 뇨모만 비 드와니 셰그레스.
And then the object of abandonments, there are the 2 types of obstacles. It says deluded and non-deluded obstacles.
단데 가르쳐준다 배나 레버스 아니 다춤베 공부 산제 공부 토발라 파트 제제기 근데 니바로 가르쳐나 텔라 드와세 텔라 뇨모치 드와 뇨모만 지마이 드와 니베스.
And then so what kind of obstacles are there that prevents one from achieving the state of arhatship? And then what kind of obstacles there are to achieve that prevents one from achieving the state of Buddhahood? And so then then they explain these 2 kinds of obstacles: the deluded obstacles and non-deluded obstacles.
아니 시럽세디 다녔다 내 시험하고 더 그런 거 모으면 내가 시럽세디 다니요 말이스.
And so usually we talked about the obstruction and the obstruction to knowledge, right? So we talk about obstruction to knowledge in general, but they don't have this term obstruction to knowledge in the Bible school.
가는 시럽세디가 다시 갔나 아니 시바지 그예탐 참마 응어서 좀 통발로 접어싱이지라 시럽세. 제가 사람이 시바지기 시야 탐추 디지라 응에서 통화 요 말에서 십되는 통행이 시바데 메와이다 대적에 아니 드와데 요 말에서.
And so, according to the Babashka school, what does it mean and what does it mean by obstruction to knowledge? It's obstruction to knowledge. Is a one single mind or a single knowledge, knowing all the phenomena, all the things that exist, at one time, at one time. And so they're saying that there's no such kind of knowledge or mind that can know all the things that exist at one time, at a single time, and therefore they don't accept such kind of term, the obstruction to knowledge.
나 상제기라 변나 군체지라 그래. 되게야. 변나 마타발 삼타한테 볼 마타마마쇼 아니지 다음에 베타와나 들려야 롱코고 말해서 가지 시바지게 이 가리를 놓고나 대치보마다 셴바도 롱코고 말해서.
And so they believe, they accept that Buddha has a omniscient mind. It's called the all-knowing mind. All-knowing mind, the mind that knows everything, but not at the same time. So like when it is knowing impermanence, it only knows impermanence. It doesn't know the other minds and other like selflessness or emptiness and so forth. So it only knows the impermanence at that time. But there's other time, then it knows the other things.
그래서 오차서 시바지 그 주타마 디치디 시바 하고에 매와인다 텔레드메 텔라 데드메 아니 드와시드세데 요 말레스 그런 거로 섬다도.
So is that clear to you now? So if the obstruction to knowledge, is an obstruction that obstructs a mind from knowing all the things at once, right? So because there's no such kind of mind, therefore there's no such kind of obstruction. So therefore they don't accept obstruction to knowledge.
어디지 다 동보조 타와토발 받듯이 다 니버조 틈지치발 받듯이 시작을
And so these two here, deluded obstacles and non-deluded obstacles, they use this term, deluded obstacles and non-deluded obstacles. The deluded obstacle is the obstacle that prevents one from achieving the liberation, and the non-deluded obstacle is the obstacle that prevents one from achieving state of omniscience.
다 동북은 세시라고 하나 가다라자 때문에 제전좀 좀마친 제전 좀 또바다 뒤에온 거 쉬위 다 두섬 사번에 제받나 이모가 내차셔나 뜸물어서 봐 삼바고
And then there's the deluded obstacle acts chiefly as obstacles to the attainment of liberation and non-deluded, right? So this is clearly here. There's example of the first are conception, grasping a self-supporting or substantially existent person. The three poisons, like the attachment, anger, ignorance, together with their seeds and so forth, that arise due to that conception.
제가 시라마고 시 전에 가다라자 때문에 제도 저거 말했어. 가다라자 때문에 제도 동아래서 제가 대 동아도 별로데 다 공부를 대 공부할 때네 아니 다 그랬어.
And so the Vaivashika doesn't accept the self-supporting or substantially existent person, and so that is to be abandoned. By abandoning that, then so by meditating on the emptiness of self-supporting or substantially existent person, one will eventually achieve the state of liberation.
제가 다 그토바고 뒤에온 것이 다 내차 세다 뜨문어서 어떤 참아까지 타와도 발라 빠지지게 되어 매워서 그랬어.
And then all these poisons, like the poisonous delusions, like attachment, anger, ignorance, that comes from the grasping at a self-supporting or substantially existing person, and is obstacle, to the liberation. And so, in order to achieve liberation, one has to overcome all these delusions that comes from this conception, of grasping as a self-supporting or substantially existing person.
어찌 다때 거란로 당로지 되지 다 니바 아니 탐주 잡아도를 받지 잡아가나 가다라 제데 제인즈게 또비 바자다 이원 것이 왜 심지 내년에다 와서 시작도.
And then the example of the second, which is the non-deluded obstacles, right? It says this is are the mental tendencies, of the conception, grasping a self-supporting or substantially existent person, and the lack of mental clarity that arises due to these tendencies.
Okay. 아니 다 가다라제데 또비 바자서 와이나 배나 여러 다 좀도 가다라제데 좀 코나방한테는 되게 바자하대요. 그래서.
And so the tendency is like, I don't know if you are familiar, but what it means is same as the imprint, right? Tendencies and imprint, same here. So the tendency of the conception grasping a self-supporting or substantially existent person, is the imprint, of the conception grasping as a self-supporting or substantially existent person. So the arhats, of the healers and so to the others have abandoned the conception grasping a self-supporting or substantially existent person, but the imprint or the tendency of that conception is still there. They still have that.
제가 바짝 원기 지금 삼좀 간에 지금 특두자들을 통받아. 아니 리가 남준단 말이에요. 어떤 연구를 시당 방사다.
So even though they don't have this delusion, but because of these tendencies, there's sometimes the bad words just come out of their mouth, or maybe they act in a wrong way, physically, like that. That happens because of the tendencies.
맞아. 다 사회세디 다 유목 깨는데나 그런 유목 그런 거 뭐에 깨는 거더라. 사회라 그래.
And then
남주 바자. 내나도도 이나 시단은 저도 남주 바자다 사회세 뭐 용으로 와.
And then the seed of the delusion, is the conception that sprouts or that grows into a delusion. That's the seed.
제가 세원의 바자니 제와야 가시가 세원의 바자 찌발이라는 데 내요.
And so that's the difference of the seed and tendency or imprint. So some people might say that tendency and the seed are same.
세븐다 바자다 니바도 지발랑에 된대는 개발들이 요래.
And there are some experts, who says that tendencies, the potentials, the tendency, the potential, the seed are all same.
개다티 간에나. 아니 대지 다 아니 대원 거 주고 섬진 내년에도 나 가다라 제대로 된도 또 받을 대원 거 주위 아니 리가 이 섬진까지 다 샤워 마로와도 호텔 아니 섬진 내년에서 하더래. 리징 섬진 원에 지 something do a leading on the engine number do a and then I'm to do it and then tell Lingages later.
And then it says the lack of mental clarity that arises due to these tendencies. And so that's like I mentioned earlier about coming bad words out of your mouth, or acting improperly physically like that. So because of that mental lack of mental clarity, and these things that happen. So because of the tendency or the lack of mental clarity, they tend to say something bad or think something bad, and or do something bad like that. So for us, what how we act. The things that we say, things we think, that things we do are forced by our self-grasping ignorance, right?
And it's so deep, and I knew your mind be driven said that Mishibi Jishi.
And then usually, there's this the deluded obstacles, have 4 causes. It says the 4 causes of not knowing.
And it tell you, Tambo de la Bana. Sanji Jomden the jet, Truji Pombo, Sachi Travi, and Mishibase Gior.
What's that?
Sanji Jomden the Trumji Pombo, Trum Yorwa, Trumji Ravian, Trum Sonda, the Tig paint that subject turning on the cargo mares, and the subject Travi Mishibase.
And so it says there's a not knowing or the ignorance, not knowing or ignorance of profundity and subtlety. And so there says that what does it mean by it is that the aggregate of the Buddha's morality, is not known. It's not known exactly like it is. It's not known. So that's because of not knowing that. So that's the not ignorance of subtlety or profundity.
And it Shinde Rimocha and Mishivala Chiore. Rimbo,
and so, and then there's a nice like not knowing.
Marmaterial, Hill Shendaka, Pena Hill, Sata Rimbo, and Mishiva Chiore. Hill Shendaka, very pass Mishiba. Harimbo, Tarich and Hamowasager.
And then there's not knowing because of the distance, because of the distance, like the place, which is very far away, something that is very far away, and you can't know that. So not knowing because of distance.
Depend on Cardana and the Mongaji Poga and the Konaka Ama Tronso Jilla, Konaka Nisha Tagyo, Ama the Kawakena, Kotagyoda.
And there's an example of that is like Mongoliana. He was trying to see through his clairvoyance where his mother was born after she died.
And the Koranga Amad Jella the town Shansho Wotherji used at Kyoda, Java Sajakana, Shansho Wotherkir.
And then his mother, anyway, so after she died, she was born in a northern direction. It's called a place of light. So a place of light. Somewhere, I don't know, in the north of India. So, but Mongoliana is trying to see where his mother is born, and he couldn't see.
And then Monga Pugi and it's Sanji Jomida, that Tiwata, Tangama the Kawati, and the Tiwamber.
And then Mongoliana asked Buddha Shakyamuni where his mother is born.
And then Sanji Jomida, Charanga Amadeta, the Sajatel Kendus, so much.
And Buddha Shakyamuni told him where his mother is born. so he told Mongoliana that his mother is born in such and such place.
근데 뭐가 보기 산지 좀 될라 땅이 아마 요소는 안에 산지 좀 될 페로치스 and 아마드까지 다네 다주부 공부를 내려오 제고 그 페로치스 파슈아리.
So Buddha, Mongoliana requested Buddha, to come to go to that place where his mother is and teach her Dharma and lead her to the state of arhatship.
안에 다 안에 산지 좀 되게 안에 배와 안에 그리고 셰셰셰네 딱 가리지로 안에 뭔가 보고 들으지 덮치는 쪽인다 산지 좀 되게 들으고 덮은 쪽에 그러니 뒤지 말.
And so then they discussed, how they're going to go to that place. They're going to travel there to that place through the miraculous power of Buddha Shakyamuni or through the miraculous power of Mongoliana.
안에 되니 안에 단다 뭔가 보고 들으지 떠지 배와도 군이 대타 채워지 안에 뭔가 보기 나도 공부뿐에 공부 되고 막 로베 람갈레 빨아야 간지 아마 살려 소만 말 산지 좀 되다 뭔가 보니야.
And so then they finalized that they are going to use the Mongoliana's miraculous power to go there. And then when they made 7 steps, they reached the mother's place. Like when they stepped 7 strides, they reached their mother's place. So that's through the miraculous power.
타는 보시오다 빼 메주 타는 보다 이제 사타는 보이나 림 보시오래.
And so it's very, very far away, So like if you were to measure the place, it's very far away. But just making 7 steps, they reach there already.
제가 나도 띵에 들어가 있나 들린 줄 알아요. 다 저도 shumang 남들가 요 말다.
So yeah, so if you have if you have achieved that kind of concentration, then you can reach a very far away place in like that. So you don't have to buy airplane tickets anymore.
어디 다 되지네 다 불려라 아니 냠도 편에 아니 뭔가 보고 아마라 추대지 아니 타벨라 연거네 다 투표로 와.
And so then they went to the place where his mother was born, and then Buddha gave teachings, and then led her to the state of arhatship. And then now they have to come back, right?
다 지금 다 그래 다 산지 좀 된 데가 던져지 또 인도와 인다야 뭔가 던져져 거기 teaching 다 산지 좀 된 데가 던져라 아도에서 거기 다 채원 버.
And then they discussed again, whose miraculous power they're going to use, to come back. And then that time they decided, that they're going to use the Buddha Shakyamuni's miraculous power to come back.
아니 다 산지 좀 된 데까지나 아니 사자변나 도제된도 다 가변나 사자때 저런 거 연락 송치다 세면 코시 있어 다 송해 버려.
And then so whichever place they're going to come back to, the Bodh Gaya or wherever they're going to come back to, and then Buddha Shakyamuni says, just think about that place in your mind.
안에 대전 안에 세면 코와 담지까지 거기 랩고서 사자들 랩아 말.
And so just by thinking about that place, they were already in that place.
제자 산지가 그두 손주세야 돼그 가와 있나 두 가와 주나 그들 랩 그래서 돼야 그 니바 가지 동거.
And then this is the reason why they says that Buddha's body, speech, and mind are simultaneous and at all the time. So wherever the Buddha's mind is, there will be Buddha's body also.
제가 나도 셈다 리보니 가가도 되게로.
So, but in our case, our mind and body goes separately, right?
어제 다대 안에 가로 사자 유신들이 왜 미시 봐서 뒤지래다.
And so that's one of the ignorance or not knowing, because of the certain distance.
And 다 뒤신들이 미시 봐서 지요래.
And then there's because not knowing because of the duration of the time.
다 대파지 줘도 거니래 아니 샤리버가 아니 점다 빠지게 줄라야 타와전데 게사요 봐 하모고 그래서 다티 게사다 싸는 이런 무시 첨바한다.
So like you might have heard this the householder Pelge, who had a seed to become a monk and to achieve liberation, but Shariputra wasn't able to see because it has been very, very long time. That seed was planted long time ago.
다팅도 뭐 보시다 자동 쉬먹고 오시러.
So you all know about that, right? That story.
다티 대한 바지 뒤를 보시 무차한테 마시 버렸어.
And so that is because that's not knowing that because of the very long duration. long term. And then not knowing because of the multiple or limitless things. And so so that example, that would be like each thing that we have in our body, like the peacock, has very multiple colors, right? Multiple colors of feather in her body, and there is a karma created for each color or each feather. And so there is what kind of karma did one create for each feather or each color of the feather to have such kind of beautiful feather. So that's not known. That's because of too many multiple things. And so it says that one will not know that until one achieves enlightenment.
Okay.
So anyway, so with that, now we have gone through the obstacles, the object of abandonment. And so that concludes the actual the object of abandonment. And now the next is the actual presentation of the grounds and paths. Right? So that says the persons of the three vehicles have different ways of traveling the path. So then there's those of the hero lineage and the hero's vehicle, Soto vehicle, and Bodhisattva vehicle. So this is again uncommon terms used for the vehicles, for the three vehicles, according to the Vaibhashika school. So the Vaibhashika doesn't assert Mahayana, a great vehicle. So this is that the Mahayana is created by some talkative people. I don't accept that. And so they don't accept the Mahayana teaching, as the teaching of the Buddha. But anyway, after Nagarjuna and Asanga came, then some of the Vaibhashikans assert that Mahayana teaching to be the teachings of the Buddha. And that's why it's the hearers. The hearers means like that, they're hearing, they hear, they listen, and they practice, and then they teach to others. So that's called the hearers. The hearers and says this, those of the hero lineage combine the view, realizing the emptiness of self-supporting or substantially existent person with a small collection of merit, and after practicing for 3 lifetimes or more, attain small enlightenment. So again, here and there will be more explanation and later, more detailed explanation later. So we'll just go through, we'll just read through as it is here. Anyway, when we talk about the small collection of merit, middling collection of merit, and great collection of merit, and it all depends on the vastness of the mind.
덴디기 아니 손은 저 중도 손 되는 냠도 제가 됐어. 가제 가르고 탑당 셔럽니 냠도 제가 됐어 들어.
So like it says that they combine these two, the view realizing the emptiness of self-supporting or substantial existent person with the small collection of merit. So the merit and the wisdom, method and wisdom together, combining both method and wisdom.
다대지하고도 채섬라 소바 고체 정도 채섬라.
And then how long they practice for? They say up to three lifetimes or more.
다 채섬리 파라 제메 생각할까 그것이 제가 콜로지 주준다고 치지.
And so this is so they said I'm going to do only for 3 lifetimes. It's too tiring to do more than that. So that's like a small mind.
다 라자 세대 베나 소소고 라자 베나 촐롬도 토세베 제라 소소고 냠슬레 소소 곰 소소 주보 되나 라잘스 소소 매 가다시알 땡이 매생 다시로 되네 라자 세대.
And then those of the solitary realizer lineage. It says a solitary realizer. So why is called solitary? Solitary is by oneself. It's solitary, by oneself alone. So one study and then practice by oneself alone, and then gain a victory, through oneself, by oneself alone, not sharing with others.
Was that 시제도 되든 나오래. 소소 갈아서 되는 거요.
So this is like the Westerners, they're not sharing, they just eat by themselves.
They won't go to their own way, right? They don't talk. No, I'm just kidding, okay? I'm not complaining. 어때시? 가르고. 원래 손이 존재다, 손전제대 까와 잘라서 받아는 샹좀 아니 고마지 샹좀 지 받으시 그래서 다 그런 게 라자다 좀 더 받으시 그래서.
And then said those of the solitary realizer lineage combine the view realizing the emptiness of a self-supporting or substantially existent person with a middling collection of merit, and after practicing for 100 years or more, attain the middling enlightenment.
다 샹좀 세만한 기서면데 타와치문에 세만다 샹좀 세만인지 대리 따와됐나 가다라체 돼 있던 것도 봤다. 저는 이제 저 처음보다 쓰는 데까지 처음에 써놔서 소소가 셰세도.
And then there's the bodhisattvas. They say bodhisattva, they don't say Mahayana, they say bodhisattvas. Bodhisattvas combine the view realizing the emptiness of the self-supporting or substantially existent person with a great collection of merit, and after practicing for at least 3 countless great eons, attain great enlightenment.
어제 다 되는지 초사디 쳐봐다 다 되는 초사다 가니까 사기로 써봐야 나 사디 쳐봐야 돼.
And then they say there is also difference in the way they collect the accumulation of merit.
다도 샹샘 남지 손로 전부 mention다 같이 처음에 섬라 서비받아 초산이 전로 전에 물론지 받아 땡도치랑게 되시 다된 것이 자결.
And then it says the bodhisattvas having collected merit for 3 countless great eons on the great stages of the path of accumulation. So there's the path of accumulation, right? So it says the great stages, the small, middle, and the great stage. Great. So by the great stages of the path of accumulation, they have already accumulated the merit for the 3 countless great eons and below, right? And then attain all paths from the heat stage, of the path of preparation through the path of normal learning on one seat. So within one sitting.
단데 같이 잠에서도 가도 먹으시다. 단데 빼 간지 다 이름 뭐 먹으시고 계셔와.
So we talked about the 3 countless great eons briefly last time, right? But anyway, so it just means like for a very, very, very long time.
텔로 빠메네 마마마마마는 간지 텔로 빠메네 마마마마는 간지 텔로 쪄 봐라요. 지지겨. 그래봐. 텔로 빠메네 다체 마마마마마마마는 텔로 쪄 봐. 아니 바지 대직지. 아니 텔라 아니 바카 찍지. 근데 아니 같이 찍라 바카 자주도 봐요. 그래서 바카 자주도 봐.
And so, like we talked about last time, right? So there's the lifespan of the human beings. It's like the infinite, um, um, infinite lifespan, right? Infinite lifespan, and then from there it comes down, 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 all the way down to 10 years, as the longest lifespan. And then, so up to that, then it goes back from the 10, then it goes to 100, 1,000, and all the way to infinite. So that is counted as one count, and so the 80 of that, is called one countless gradual.
다 택배 리보시오다.
So that's very, very
텔로치에 걸려. 텔로치에 걸려. 나도 믿어도야. 딱 띄워요. 딱 띄우 갈라 내토를 굽자잖아. 이거는 굽자잖아. 그래서 딱 띄운 통요.
Tatiu?
딱 띄리세요. 딱 쏘봐. 오 주의들이요. 먼저 딱 띄우세요. 아니 이제 딱 쏘봐. 딱 쏘봐. 고 주의들이요. 내는 것이.
딱이게 remark.
딱 띄우세요.
So anyway, so as the lifespan decreases, to the age of 10 being the longest, at that time the body of the people also shrinks, becomes very small, so small that it can sit on a horse dung. So it's like dung, I don't know, the horse dung. So about that size, like that, that size.
아니 디갈라타 아니 단다 자와 참바고 100월. 자와 참바다 오늘 굴리반 도대까지 100월.
And so at that time, then the Buddha Maitreya will come, and who has a much more larger and magnificent body.
다 가르쳐 버렸다. 고속해져. 아텐데 가르쳐 버렸나. 오, 엄마들이 전부다나 전화서가 아니 링아 예스음데 뇨모장장 제네 다 디바 먹게 왔는데 맞추 셔서 말했어. 야 저번 공부 링아 예스음데 간지 개와 전제지는들이 전부 자월했어. 다 고도 농도 제와다 하고네. 아니 신의 야보지는 다 고도야 바로야.
And then it says that then they will inquiry about Buddha Maitreya's body. How did you have such a magnificent tall body? And then he will explain to them Dharma. He will explain them that. Then so people keep on creating negative karmas all the time, with full of delusions like attachment, anger, and so forth. And because of that, their body shrink smaller and smaller. And then Buddha Maitreya, who practiced virtues action all the time and abandoned the delusions like attachment, anger, and so forth. And then because of that, and then he has a tall and magnificent body. And then there's oh, we want to have that too. Then they start to practice Dharma. They start to abandon the non-virtuous actions and the creative virtuous actions. And by then their lifespan will increase and their body also increases. The size of the body also increases. And then so everybody behaves well and does well, and then it becomes better and it becomes bigger and better. Like we never cared about our environment, and then we dumped the trash and all the things everywhere, and then later there some people came up with the knowledge that it is going to affect the environment, and that's going to affect our life, our health, and so forth. And now then people start to take care of the environment and keep the places clean and so forth. So it's just like that, So before you didn't know, and then you do all the bad things, and once you know, then you start do good things, and then it becomes better, like that. And so there's the three stages on the path of accumulation, right? The small, medium, and great stage. And so they last that long. So according to the Vaibhashika, Bodhisattva on the path of accumulation, will be there for 3 countless great eons accumulating merit, and up until they reach the heat level of the path of preparation.
Yeah, second part is there's a chicken then go Sanjay over then to chill again the she said.
Then when they achieve the heat level of the path of preparation, then they will sit in meditation. And they will never come out of their meditation, or they will never stand up from their meditation. They will be there on the meditation and until they achieve the state of full enlightenment. So they will achieve state of full enlightenment within one seat, means by sitting start sitting on the path of accumulation, and by the time when they achieve the path of normal learning, then that's when they stand up from the meditation.
Are you like that, Mark? Are you like that?
I believe that.
No, are you already that?
Well, yeah, the way I see.
어때지? 다 라자 리체 남지 손어 침 라자 리체 남지 손어 침보 멘체다. 같이 잘라서 받을 소리 손어 제네 모노로지 받을 텐도지랑 같이 봐 매치.
And then same with the social others, they're having collected merit for 100 great eons on the great stages of the path of accumulation and below, and attend all the paths from the hidden stage of the path of preparation through the path of normal learning on one seat.
다 대야까지 가지 손하게 가서 너 손하게 가서 가와 자이 받대야.
And the same here, during the path of accumulation, all the collection of merit, it's accumulated during the path of accumulation. All the merits they accumulate for 100 eons is all accumulated on the path of accumulation.
제가 네게 뒤서 단디 뒤서 뛰고 말다. 그 손함 슈타니 뛰버라도 데려오대 로모드네.
And so it's not counting now, it's counting from the time when they have entered into the path.
Okay. 다 니들이 지남지 로로 지게네 가서 초사지 폴로 톱내장 계속 지지받다 아니 로로나 럽고바 양요비셔스 다들 때서 말아봐 쳐서 온데 때서 말아요.
And so the hearers, they are a little bit different. This is hearers collect merit on all 4 learning paths. So that's like the path of accumulation, preparation, seeing, and meditation on all 4 learning paths. And for some, it is necessary to train on the learning paths, even up to 14 lifetimes after attaining superior paths.
다들 오버도 보대 오버도 쉬우대 대체거든. 예배 지주 스발레 담바 되죠. 어떻게 되는 책이요. 밀레체 야할레체 밀레체 할레체 되는 용거다.
And so this is the according this is the for the most the dullest the dullest faculty, the hearer, who's born again and again, as a human being God like that. That takes a long time to attain the superior, attain the path of normal learning there.
제가 존엄 고노 살람 지기발 고소사도 아니 니들 강의도 다가 싸우면도 고마워 싸서.
And then so he has to accumulate merit through all these paths, right? The learning paths, so learning path and the normal learning path, right? So the 5th one is the normal learning. So before that, all 4 are learning paths. So path of accumulation, path of preparation, path of seeing, and path of meditation. They are all learning paths. So during all these 4 learning paths, they accumulate the merit.
다 되는 것이 뭐다. 다 디나 된대에 봐다 다 디나 대다가 상지 주고 상지 마이바 도대 대파자이 베셔를 다디 그런 사람을 도모만 돼서 지래.
And now this is again an uncommon assertion of the Vaibhashika school. They said they assert that a Buddha's form aggregate is not a Buddha because it is an object to be abandoned. So this is again Vaibhashika's uncommon assertion.
가르치는 나지 소소고 샤세 존엄비 리테다 태치기 되바레스 태치바로스.
So he said this is because it is included in the same lifetime as the body of the previous bodhisattva on the path of preparation.
제가 같은 도시를 봐 아니 군이 바로 태치는 만포가 엄마 부모 강에 받아 따라야 도시를.
And so because they assert that bodhisattva, when he enters into the path of preparation, then he goes into meditation, and within that one seat, he will achieve state of full enlightenment or path of normal learning or Buddhahood, right? And so that Buddha, is carrying the same body as the bodhisattva on the path of preparation, because it was during one sitting that he achieved the state of Buddhahood.
잡대 장세 전원비 리테데 나 레닌지 아니 레닌지 방위 풍보인 버셔스 레닌지 영어적 방위 풍보에서 아니 코드냐도 좋아해서 네 주주바리 아니 코 너무 방고 그래서
And so he's carrying the same body as the Bodhisattva on the path of preparation. And the body of the Bodhisattva on the path of preparation came from his previous karma and delusion. And therefore it has to be abandoned.
배차잖아 배차르베나 우치 아마도 마티브칼라 존이 체다요나 딱고 마시바 존이 체체버려 고 다나 부모도 킨도데 가로 고 제오자메와.
So like like they give the example of a child who is born with a missing finger. If a child is born with a missing finger, then he will be missing finger till he dies, right? He will not have a different one. Whatever he's missing, or if he has a double thumb, then he will have the same thing until he dies, like that.
제다 샤데 존바데 냠바 샤네 자도 지글 발아야 따서 마제 바데 고 시에 말아 간지 저번 저와치는 로 막마 강 요바데 진도 가야 키워라스.
So the Bodhisattva on the path of preparation, when he goes into meditation, then it's the same Bodhisattva who is there all the way, and he doesn't die, or he doesn't stand up from that sitting, and he achieves an enlightenment in that one seat, and so therefore it is the same body, of that Bodhisattva on the path of preparation when that Bodhisattva achieved the Buddhahood.
제가 저런 그 부모 싸마 먹이데 간지 냠도 진에 틴데 싸마지 바다 키송 그랬어.
And so he's saying that you took that unclean or contaminated aggregate from the path of preparation all the way to the Buddhahood.
저 자가는 세우는데 자가는 남는 야 전에 아리 말레 받치는 마법에 잘라데 자가 기니까가 키는데래요.
And so it's like saying that you have a bag full of trash, from India, and then you travel with that bag all the way to America, and you still have that same bag that you had it from India, and so you have that bag full of trash from there, and you still have it here.
자다다 간제 산제 구풍대 풍보대 빠자리 세대다 사람이 탐모만 시다는 대 전담아 생각하고 말이.
So that is the reason that Babashka explains the aggregate of the Buddha is to be abandoned. So this is again uncommon assertion of the Babashka, and none of other tenets assert that.
다 팀한테 되네 디 롱주도 캠는데 사람마가 디가 롱고 켈랭 말이스.
And then also it says they do not accept complete enjoyment body. Sambhogakaya.
가르는 아니 초코트가 알하메데 냥을인데 왜 리바 제쳐 버려서 간제 알하메데 냥을인데와 단디 지를 온 거래 간제 리바지 매바찬도 그래서
and then that's because when they achieve the nirvana without the residue, when they achieve the nirvana without residue, then that's they stop to continue. Their continuation stops there, and then there will be no more. And then once you achieve, once the continuation stops, then you are no more after that. So that's what they
가르쳐나 아니 신금 요 말했을 때나 만종 공부가 보면 신경 세워야다. 아니 신에도 신금자 되니 신금 요 말했어. 상하제네 아니 시도 나탄 살다 고매와처럼 요 말했어. 독살이 되니 신금 매와인다. 텔레 데딩을 아니 롱크데 요 말했어.
And so like we talk about the pure land, right? The land where the Buddhas are residing, in their enjoyment body form. And so the Bible says there's no such kind of pure land. There's no, like we talk about pure land of Buddha Amitabha, the pure land of Buddha Maitreya, like that. So there's no such kind of pure land, because when they achieve that nirvana without the residue, then their continuation stops, and then once the continuation stops, then they become non-existent. Then there's no being after that, and so therefore there is no enjoyment body to enjoy.
제가 사실은 단다 상계 요도 요 말 계셔 되어이나 대주모도 홍고인다.
So according to the Babashka, is there Buddha Shakyamuni there or not? Is Buddha Shakyamuni? Does Buddha exist or not? So that's the homework for the next time.
No, you don't do that. What is so? Riba Jenchewan, Riba Jenchewan, Pombo Meadow, the Riba Meadow, Sholoko Pombo, and then Naga Mewachado, Jenchedo, yes.
And so when that continuation, breaks, then the whole thing goes and disappears. Like the inner mind and the outer body, they all disappear.
Okay, it's very strange, okay. Don't be follow the Babashika school. Yeah.
So I don't understand the reason, because if the substantial cause for the current moment of mind is the previous moment, then the current moment of mind is the substantial cause for the next moment.
Yeah.
Then what happens to the substantial cause if there's no next moment?
It ceases. So when they die, then it ceases. Just like when you put off the light, put off the butter lamp, then after that there's no more butter lamp, like that. So this is their view anyway.
Okay.
So these are the different assertions of the Babashik school, right? So you have to understand this, So like that, the idea of the Buddha is to be abandoned and there's no enjoyment body, like those things, right? So of course, they say that that's the reason they explain the reason also, and you have to know this, you have to remember that, these assertions. The idea of the body is to be abandoned, the enjoyment body doesn't exist. And then the next one, it says that although the Buddha superior has abandoned all suffering and its origins without exception, it does not contradict that he still has true suffering in his continuum. Okay, so this is another uncommon assertion of the Babashika school. So it says it has abandoned, but it still exists, right? So Buddha has abandoned all suffering and its origin without exception, but it doesn't contradict. He still has true suffering. So it's like saying, I took a good bath, but I'm still dirty. I'm still not clean. And this is because he has abandoned every single delusion that refers to true suffering. Therefore, is considered to have abandoned true suffering. And so, like Babashika will say, this cup, that we drink water from, this cup is also to be abandoned. Because you can abandon the delusion in relation to this or delusion aiming to this cup, therefore this cup can be also abandoned.
Okay.
And so anyway, so he's saying that Buddha Shakyamuni has abandoned the true suffering, but it does not contradict that he still has true suffering in his continuum. So he's saying that he has abandoned true suffering, but he has true suffering. So it says that because he has abandoned every single delusion that refers to true suffering. So truth and every delusion that refers to true suffering, therefore, they're considered to have abandoned true suffering. But he has a true suffering because his aggregate, is the true stuff.
다 녀라 다좀바 닌테다 라자 다좀비스 공부 톰네 아니 딱 그센 대제 마동거 받아 하체 바스 다 녀라 다좀바레 사와지 아 마시 받아 다 하체 다좀발라 그래스.
And then it comes to the section about the hearers and soul desires. It says the hearers and soul desires, four destroyers, or the arhats, from the attainment of state of four destroyer until they die, are four destroyer with remainder, and then then after death they are considered to have attained nirvana without remainder.
그거 뒤 그센 대제 땅에 라면 냥을인데 봐 조금 싫어서.
And so once they have once they die, then they have attained nirvana without remainder.
제상 사체 라면서 돼 녜지 아니 사체 녀는지 풍부도 여와나 사체 대 매와나 라면서 어디다 어디다.
And so what is the difference between the remainder and without remainder? With remainder and without remainder? With the remainder is when you have the remaining of the contaminated aggregate, and then when you don't have the contaminated aggregate, that's the without remainder.
단데든다 사체 냥든지 체 뇨모진지 들어 말리바 빠장 뇨모진 많이 들어 마뽕 요셔스 마뽕 요도스.
It says that although at the time of nirvana with remainder, they abandon deluded obstacles without exception, they do not abandon non-deluded obstacles.
제등이 등길라가 거의 다주만 그일라네 대차 바찰하대 요레스.
So the non-deluded obstacle here is the tendencies of the delusion, right? So they have abandoned the delusion, but they still have the tendency of those delusions.
다 아니 다 나진 게 어때지? 다 라면 양엘렌제 다 가지 내말 내니 방법 풍부되게 좀 다를 하던데 아니 그절라야 두대요 그래서.
And so because you still have that contaminated aggregate, from before you achieve the state of this four destroyer, therefore therefore it's called the with remainder, of the contaminated aggregate.
다 원한 라면 양엘렌제 뒤절 아니 가로 니 라면 양엘렌제 그걸다 녀보체네 아니 녀모처럼 더 뽕마데 이나 뒤체 그러나 대사가 때는 매우 좋아서다 아니 녀모처럼 들어도 매우 찬도 그래스.
And so when you achieve the state of the four destroyer without remainder, or in other words, when you die, then you have achieved the non-deluded obstacles. I mean, you have abandoned the non-deluded obstacles, not because you strived to abandon that, but because you died, you are no more there, and then therefore you don't have that anymore either.
제자코 녀모코로 대사 매워자 아니 녀모요 말 가제 사자포서로.
Yeah, so you don't have the body, you don't have a mind. There's no continuation, right? They all ceased. There's no more body and mind, to carry those tendency of the delusions or the non-deluded obstacles. Therefore, it says they don't have it. They have a mind.
니도 다좀봐 라자 다좀봐 아니 샹슴다 상지도 간지 마시 봐도 배 공자로 시선하니 다들 빠진체 등파 양주요 말했어. 네 양수 좋아요 말했어.
So whether it's healers four destroyer or the surgery realizers four destroyer or a Buddha and a Bodhisattva four destroyer, when they are still alive, they have they have these abandoned these delusions, or they have achieved these realizations. But when they die, then they have nothing. They cease to exist.
내가 도사한다.
So after that, the job is done. You have nothing to do.
오케이. 되지 다 되지. 다 니마만 남지. 니마 와서 돼. 저라마 너대와 선바 숨고를 니보 대마도 마발라 니마만 남지. 아니 너 정해 집에 다친 켈러 란다 롱아도 모르고 저거레스.
And then it says the proponents of the realism are true existence, right? So that so the proponents of the tenet who accept true existence, so those includes the Vaibhashika, Sautrantika, and Chittamattha as well. So this is when distinguishing definitive and interpretive sutra, do so by means of whether they are acceptable according to their words.
가다베나 풍봉하데 아니 그야레스 가다데 그녀레 되는 빼셔요. 어때서 다 아니 가로 다치바 말레스. 아니 덴바시라 소바땡이 아니 문도도 아니 다치지 말레스 어디내려 보시.
홍보디.
나 풍봉하는 거를 풍봉하는 그요 그요는 강사이들 간지 풍봉하데 그야레스. 가다데 데키니 동요레스 이걸.
And so then there is a sutra that says that 5 aggregates are load, like load, and the person is the carrier of that load. Yeah. And so there's the sutra there. So that they say is not definitive, and then like the 4 noble truths are definite. So definitive is just to accept just as it is said in the word.
더 나중에 배나 파다만 세야시 되는 요. 어떤도 아니 다치바 말레스.
And then also there is a sutra that says the father and mothers to be killed. That is not literal or definitive.
되게 또 아니 자와 동이 내자 세단이라고 하는 소마다 다치바 말레스로.
So that is not as it is said in the word, said by the word, and because that's referring to the karma and delusion. Father and mother is referring to the karma and delusion, and so in order to be free from the suffering, then you have to abandon the cause that gives rise to the sufferings.
아 대마 대니지다. 단 네가 대마 대니 세대 사람은 너도 많이라 그래. 주로 된다고 대마라고 대마 대니스.
And then this is the 2 schools, that propounds the meaning, do not accept the Mahayana collection to be Buddha's word, because most Vaibhashikas assert that sutra are provided by the sutra of definitive meaning.
오케이. 다 사람은 살이.
So that's all about the Vaibhashika school.
다 간에 저 덴바니라 소바 땅도 땅골 맞힌 로기다. 다티 코 디디로 신종이. 아니 근데 다 간데 내 싫어 되죠. 나도 되 쇼자야래. 아니 좋아. 나도 도바지는 너 도바만 못해. 다도 도바지 뭐지. 다 로로 하고는 되게 요래.
And so now we're going to review it shortly, briefly. Of course, there's a lot of contradictions from what you have studied and what you have heard. And there's a lot, we can discuss and debate and all this. So we don't have to do that, but, at least we just understand briefly what, Vaibhashika is talking about.
다나 저람 레버섬 내 가서 다 대자 강아도 저람 레버섬 내 가완도 거와.
And like I mentioned earlier, the 3, right, the path, basis, path, and result. Now this has to be all the tenets.
다 일마도 담으러 가나 지마 시험좀 간지 저람아 와서 가르나 알아링도 말이 싫어 된다 싫어 가래. 싫어 된다도 그래서 어땡도 하고 그래. 저람아 임바.
And so then you have to understand that the Vaibhashika asserts the external existence, right? And do not assert the self-cognizance.
아니 디섬 내모 다다디섬 제가 디스추 강아 요래서 했고 제가 다지요.
And then there's also the assertion of the Vaibhashika that all 3 times exist on the present time.
아니 다 여와 있는 거 보이고 그래서 대신에 보이고 그래서 고시요.
And if it is existent, then it has to be a thing.
And then
there's the permanent thing and the impermanent things. So there's these terms used by the Vaibhashika school.
안에 가로 루체저 수수바랑지 론던도 같이 파기 짜셔고 매와서요 여와지 샤셔만나 그런 등에 로도 매와차도나 아니 굴로도 발라 그래스 이 짜야 명예지만 때라때도 발라 그래스 그런 통문도 다시로.
And then there's the way of dividing into 2, like the 2 things, like the conventional truth and the ultimate truth. The conventional truth, is when you hold something as a vase, and then when that vase is broken, and then your mind holding that as a vase is destroyed or gone, then that's the conventional truth. And even when it is broken, but your mind holding it as such and such is not, destroyed or not gone, then that's the ultimate truth.
아니 강사 돼야 돼. 아니 부모 같으면 좀 강사하려 그래. 야만 이진 없이 강사하려 그래. 너 때문에 니요.
And so then the definition of person is a mere collection of the five aggregate is the person, or the mental consciousness as a person.
아니 테마에는 시바고 말했을 때 그런 시다 지인바.
And then also it says that if it is a valid cognizer, then it doesn't have to be a consciousness. This is another uncommon assertion of the Babishik school.
아니 남의 참보다 가다 남의 참보 된다 지방이 있어요.
And then the subtle selflessness and the subtle selfless of the person is the same meaning.
아니 추지 남의 계량이 매잖아 추지다 잡았고 그랬을 그런 시다 지인바.
And then it says that there's no selflessness of phenomena, and if it is established base, then it has to be a self of phenomena.
야 사람 뭔가 대가 해야 되게 아니 강사 따봐야 뭐게 못하고 막 이랬더니 저 못하고 강사 안으로 잡아 이 계량이 있어요.
And then this the five what's this division five division Babishkans, also says that a person is not prominent, a person is not impermanent, like inexpressible, like that, right?
다 되네 다 담바 사람이 대신하죠. 다 남지 남자 시험걸라 나 사람이 남자 시험걸라 빠자 가래리. 아니 대법을 남가래서 시험이 봐.
So this is all about the basis, right? The presentation of the basis. And now on the presentation of the path, it talks about the paths and grounds, right? And then and this is explained in two parts, the object of abandonment and the actual presentation of the paths and grounds.
아니 간지 시럽사 다니자고 메스 시럽사도 요 말해서 와 매비제도 제자인 봐.
And then in the object of abandonment, there's the deluded obstacles and the non-deluded obstacles. They call it non-deluded obstacle. There's no term, as the obstruction to knowledge. Obstacle to conditions.
So 타와 도발을 받을 정에들라 아니 요모치 도발을 그래. 또 어떻게 저 받을 정에들라 요모치 많이 도발을 그래.
And so mainly that obstructs one from achieving the liberation, is deluded obstacles, and mainly that obstruct one from achieving state of omniscience, is non-deluded obstacles.
되지. 어디 들어가 다 사람 지나면 시험 삼아라. 아니 마람 고민도 삼아라. 니트 남지 아니 세섬 라자 남지 까와자. 사실 사반이 같이 잡으면 숨나서 와니 소사 그래. 남도 공부래.
On the actual presentation of the paths and grounds, like the heroes, the accumulated merit, combining the view and the merit, and accumulated merit for the 3 lifetimes, and then the socializers for 100 eons, and bodhisattvas for 3 countless great eons, the accumulated merit.
아니 년대 라자 샤자 삼아들 아니 따위 고네 따완 도미 집아 있어. 강가 따완 차쇼데 라자데 데 동아들레스. 따완 집아 있어.
And so in terms of the view, the heroes, socializers, and bodhisattvas, they are all same. The highest view, is the view, grasping the self-supporting or substantial existing person.
어디 아니 다 대다가 아니 산지의 수보디 어디 제와데 아니 쏘는 거촉 쏘는 선지가 촉 자치 주고 제가 가양 거 이랬어. 인도라자 싶어서.
And the difference is from the amount of the accumulation of merit. So those with the small, middling, and great, that's how they differentiate the 3 beings, the heroes, socializers, and bodhisattvas.
뭐지 다대 람데 고말은 레버 가르쳐 보나 아니 다치면 레버 또 그래 달라 라자 라미니 그래.
And then through meditating on the path, what kind of result one will achieve? The one will achieve the state of the 4 destroyers, and then the 4 destroyers, there are 2. With reminder and without the remainder.
어디지? 아니 대토벌 다 되네. 아니 산지가 수보디 아니 두대래 빠자레스. 산지 말레스.
And then so that's what we'll achieve. And then the form aggregate of the Buddha is abandonment. Is to be abandoned. Is the true suffering.
아니 전에 그때 내제 동안 롱크대지 요 말레스.
And so there's no enjoyment body, because once one die, then one ceases to exist, so therefore there's no enjoyment body to enjoy.
And
so this Buddha have abandoned true suffering, yet he still has true suffering, so he's both. So something like that, right?
And it Dutchumbe Komba and the Tomne and the Kadi, Kanji Shiwana, and it Ripado Pombo, the Channel Mewachan, that is Sharama Korang and Totare.
And so, like after achieving the 4 destroys state, when one dies, then the one's contribution, of one's body and mind, everything will cease and will not exist anymore after that.
Yang Keba Kache and Ripa Sachek Ripa the Chicher, Sami Cheg Mars, the Shetan,
and then there are some experts, explaining in different ways. Like it says, yes, the contaminated mind will cease, but uncontaminated mind will not cease like that.
다 고물로도 바바 터미어도 마페에 내라야 사람의 사지 각keleng 말이스 에카 잡아도 더 소리하죠레스.
And so before Buddha, Nagarjuna and Asanga, the Vaishnagas, will say that Mahayana teaching is not the teaching of the Buddha; it's just created by some, targeted beings.
Okay. 다쳐도 뜻이 하고서 가지. 너희들이 예타를 선을 고소. 내 삼점 증가도 고발해. 너희들이 레삼도 좀 조는 되겠다. 고발하시.
So now, do you get the idea of the Vaishnaga, what they assert and what they don't assert?
And
If
so
you don't understand everything in detail, just knowing roughly what they are.
Okay. And the 딱지도 왔다나 리판나가 뭐 보여래.
Of course, if you debate, then there are so many contradictions in there.
제가 다 가지 어떤데 야보 잡거나 주뭐 너 대와서 너 대와 군이 가간데도 와. 이 선서마 가간데도 가가 하는 거는
So if you know this well, then later when you study about other tenets, then you will see the difference. Oh, okay, Vaishnaga says this, Sautantika says this, Chidamara says this, like that. So then you will see the differences.
Okay. 당이죠. 저도 좋아지 저기다. 저 갖고 있는 게 딱이다.
Okay, now I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to check whether you understood or not.
나 라면 양도지 제 녀모지 많이 들어와 아빠.
So during the 4 destroyers without remainder, does one abandon the non-deluded obstacles or not?
말해. Okay. Yes. Mark. Howard.
You understand the question, right?
라면 양간에 대체 로
When one achieved the nirvana without remainder, does one abandon the non-deluded obstacles?
Okay. You got it, Jinu, you got it. You got it, Kashan? How about you guys?
I'm going to say no.
Okay, you said no. How about you guys? You say yes, no.
I say no.
Okay, you said no.
Say yes.
All right. You say yes. Everyone say yes. Okay. 10% no.
Yeah, I say no too.
Okay, you guys know nothing about you look so. 라면 양디지 제 대니부도 좀 많이 짱 때문에 뒤에 리바지 쳐버렸어. 아당이 도와드리겠어 말이야.
Oh,
바지 대실로다 제 대코도 줄로라다. 라면 양디지 제 대니부도 좀 많이 짱 때문에 뒤에 리바지 쳐버렸어.
so those of you who said no, please read the second last paragraph on page 7. Second
Page
last
7?
paragraph. Although at the time of nirvana would remainder the abandon, and then non-deluded obstacles are not destroyed by opponent powers at the time of attaining nirvana without remainder, but they are not existent because at the time their basis, the mental continuum ceases.
But they're not abandoned. They cease. They haven't abandoned them though.
And
Exactly.
제 거라면도
They didn't
님보도
abandon
좀
them.
님보 전에 빠져 말했어.
It just ceased because the continuum ceases.
Yes.
the reason I said no, I hung my hat on you because you said specifically non-diluted. Non-diluted refers to obstacles of omniscience. It's not an obstacle to enlightenment.
Also no here there.
That's why I said no.
오케이. 단달라도 님보도 좀 말도 가도 좀 말도 나면도 님보 전에 좀 말했어. 좀 말도 스티커로 뭐 배나.
It doesn't say it did not destroy. It says it did not destroy by
that.
opponent powers.
오케이.
It did not destroy. Non-diluted obstacles are not destroyed by opponent powers at the time of attaining nirvana without remainder, but they are not existent because at that time, their basis, the mental continuum ceases.
제가 님보도 좀 말하면 좀 빨리 고고 특히 고고 같다.
So then when it says not destroyed by opponent powers, but destroyed. Not destroyed by opponent power, but destroyed because it doesn't exist.
Okay. Now it makes sense?
Yeah, but when you say abandon, that sounds like that they're they abandon them through
Not through the antidote.
yeah, they're not through the antidote, right? So they didn't abandon them, they just ceased because it continued to cease.
티티가 거 고고. How about Bob?
Yeah, I think it was a different meaning of abandon, because I think you're thinking abandon means you have to take an action.
Exactly.
But I'm thinking, it said, they don't exist anymore, so you don't have them, they're abandoned.
Yeah, but when you think of an object of abandonment of a path, right? That's what you enter the path for the object, and so that's what I was
Yeah.
thinking. It's-
No, you think it's correct. Yeah, how about you? You think it's right, but here you have to say abandon. It's not binding for the through the action, but because no has the basics, they're all gone. Right? And then when the kuchina show mara, they met it, they tell me which they bounce are got them bounce got them shadakon do it. There's not going to
It's abandoned, like Bob said, and it's abandoned because it doesn't exist. You know, and the reason why it doesn't exist is because there's no basis to hold it.
You could say you abandon the basis, therefore you abandon them.
Okay, what do you think?
I mean, that's like saying if I have an itch and I shoot you in the head, it cures the itch, but yeah.
Interesting.
Okay, I have another question, okay? Little debate. This is you have to say band, okay? Power in a neighborhood power, they can't go that they not going to say.
So you have to accept that, and it's abandoned, but not abandoned by opponent powers.
Yes.
Wouldn't they call that the ultimate form of nihilism though? Like, if I was on this continuum, like the ultimate end would be to extinguish my awareness. I mean, who'd want to join that school?
Got it.
Really, yeah.
그래서 근데 매번 차도거나 이거 윤체도거나 그래. 저 참아처럼 펜더거랬어. 근데 좀더 수켈링 그랬어. 수 디제스도 그랬어.
누구 싫어하면 차도 뒤지는 거다.
So all the Biblicans, follow
Sure,
first
no,
in our
they were-
school.
싫어하면 내가 좀 되겠다.
So there are 18 divisions of the Biblical school, right? They all follow that.
제가 콘도라 대표 무슨 때 가서 마음을 때 코삼다다 두 연거다 간지. 아니 너무 차서 매 강대 매와차 리바 이제 다 내가 강가 살고 있다.
And so as long as you have the delusion, and then you have to be born, you have to go through suffering again and again. But once you have abandoned all the delusions and then you die, then you are no more. You cease to exist, and then that's it, no more. Then you don't have to go through sufferings. So this appeals, to many people, like Babashkans, and so for them, they think it is, very good.
오케이. 당가체도 따뜻이 당기다. 상제 법에 상제 법에 상제 법 빵거도 빵거 말이. 상제 법아 코랑 아빵.
So now another question, the superior Buddha, right? The superior Buddha, you understand that? Superior Buddha, abandoned superior Buddha or not?
You got it?
I didn't understand the question. Does the superior Buddha abandon the superior Buddha?
Yeah,
Yes.
it binds himself. It's tricky questions, okay? This is how to debate. This is very complicated. Sanjay Papa Korapang the Bangmari.
So Buddha superior abandons Buddha superior or not?
Yes. Sanjay Power.
So did
I
Buddha,
mean,
does Buddha superior abandon Buddha superior?
Maybe.
I guess if we're gonna say. that
Yeah,
that's the-
Tengunir, yeah.
that means
Himalaya. Yeah, someone said it's Lula's law. And when we go Lami Yangal and David Tena, someone the answer also the Facebook. Lami Yangal and David Tena Ripajin Chekarna, Marmishuana Chipares. This is the answer. People are give the answer from the whole Facebook.
Ah.
So they like Facebook and Michigan Lane Job Shakaji. Lami Yangal and David Ripajin Chekarna and then Marme that Zona Kotero, what then I shall rest. Thank you.
아니 내가 가래. 상해 봐봐 또 뽕발 쓰고.
아니 내가 리바지 심으시 됐다. 리바지 심으시. 아멘 양을 되게 세리바지 치에서 그때 되게 저 랜드 미치 페이스북에 티셔.
Somebody wrote on the Facebook the answer about not this question, but it says that during the nirvana without remainder, no one doesn't exist because the continuation of the mind and the body cease to exist.
제타 다 서지가 상제방에는 아니 시라미를 지르나 빠야미 자다.
And if the Buddha superior abandons Buddha superior, then and according to the Bible school, if it exists, is it necessary to be abandoned?
Yes, no.
If
Talking
it
about-
exists,
Yeah.
is it
Anyone.
necessary to be abandoned?
Yes.
Yeah.
아니 시라미를 아니 라자미 왔다. 자다 빠지지 않아도 라자미 왔다.
So everything that exists is to be abandoned, then there's nothing to be adopted.
아, 그때처럼 따뜻해. 저런 때 선다죠. 내 배에 공유 타고 요.
So think about that. It's a little bit complicated, right?
그래서는 아니 두들라 보면 너무 멀리 봐 보면 두들 보면 좋을라도 제가 상제라 미면 너무 멀리 빵거려. 대반은 상제가 상제 빵을 붙이고.
So earlier it talks about this is because he has abandoned every single delusion that refers to true suffering, right? Therefore, it's considered to have abandoned true suffering. So like that, So because Buddha has abandoned all the delusions that refers to the Buddha superior, therefore you can say he's abandoned the Buddha superior.
그래 상제법이 두고 멀리 봐 빠져 뒤질라 두대 번 가고 말지. 근데 두들라 미면 너무 빠야도 그 두대 빠져 오래. 그절라 요레스. 랍서.
So then it says like Buddha superior has abandoned the suffering, all the suffering, but it is not contradicting to say that it still has suffering.
Okay. That's homework, okay?
It's the homework. I didn't get the detail one done.
Yeah, details and kanji. Sharama lula yawa in a pajam chowres, pajam gorbes.
According to the Bible school, if it exists, is it necessary to be abandoned?
They go in and yamsalaja kanga paja reves.
And so if it is, then all that adoptions, so all those, the practices, that is to be adopted, do they also has to be abandoned because they exist?
에나 안에 다들 람 곰대야게 아니 이식이 초당 쏘는 거 초니적 아니 paja reve.
And if it is, then all this, the view, and the collection of merit that is, practiced, right, during the path, are they all to be abandoned?
제가 전화도 니고 마 테마카시 일로 내는 난가들 뭐 라고.
So read, inside that through, inside this text, read a couple of times up and down, and then you will find many contradictories.
Okay. Okay, that is the Shidanta, Tande Shitang, Jelanem, Jelam, everything of the Kaji Koran, bit with Shutamba.
So we have already gone through these presentations of the basis, path, and results briefly, right?
Okay. Okay, are you guys there? Are you guys in the very warm and the blanket going to sleep there? I'm just kidding. 다 있는 다 가서 님에게 지은다. 저라면 룰라 세미티 쇼도 주도 쓸래요다. 호모 된다.
So last homework, homework from the last week. What's the definition of valid cognition in Babishka school?
Okay, for the Zoom, anyone find? Do you find anywhere? Do you look everywhere?
I think the question, the answer, wasn't it a direct valid cognition?
세미티니.
제 말에 이게 무슨 제 말에?
얼마 제마 시동 제마.
Valid cognition.
Yeah, right.
I thought it was direct valid.
Okay, 딱 되나는 게 세미티야.
Okay, then what is the definition of direct valid cognition?
Okay, for you guys, anyone find or you just looking now? Look, nobody have. Everyone busy. Did you find anywhere? Okay.
No, I don't have it.
Okay. Marian, do you saw anywhere?
Yes, I found a reference by Glenn Swenson. He said a non-deceptive cognizer that apprehends its manifest object. It's non-deceptive and it apprehends its manifest object.
Also?
가서 무슨 밀어와서 가서 무슨 기율 똑바다 아니 밀어와. 루어 많이 봤어.
루어 많이 봤지 또 봤지.
루어 많이 봤다. 소소히 뭐 류려라. 류려 된 것은 또 봐.
Okay. And 물어봤지. Okay, that's good. That's good.
What did she say? Non-deceptive what?
It's a non-deceptive cognizer that apprehends its manifest object.
류려 쉐바. 가서 문주와 똑배 류려 쉐바.
아데 노르사 다데 데 노르사 다데 술람 노르사 시대.
문주와 똑배서.
근데 영 문주와 또 시바
문주와 똑배 류려 쉐바.
제자 오봉에서 시바래 왜?
나가서 무슨 tema 계시거든.
야, 제자 무슨 때마다 아니 오봉에서 나 앞에나 오봉에서 배나 가로. 오봉 다 이 오봉 배나 미고 오봉 때 받지 말해 왜?
So what about 가르자 미국 오면 무슨 tema 해서 그래?
아, 시바래 왜? 시바.
미국 오면.
야.
What about the eye sense power? So is the eye sense power consciousness?
I don't know. Sorry, Domchip.
The
I don't
eye
know.
sense power.
Yeah.
Is that a valid cognition?
I wouldn't say. Yeah, it depends. Is it? If it's
Depends.
non-deceptive and it apprehends its manifest object, then it's a direct valid cognizer. So it's not the object of engagement, it's the manifest object.
윤문주와 똑배 아니 밀루에 샤바레스.
제가 시바래 왜? 시바래 왜? 좋아된다.
So is it consciousness? The eye sense power, is it consciousness? Is the eye sense power consciousness?
I sense power. No,
I sense power, not the eye sense consciousness. I sense power.
no, I wouldn't say it. I personally wouldn't say it is, but I don't know. I did not read the book in depth to say what that
Marissa.
Yeah.
So you're saying no. The eye
I say
sense
no.
power is not consciousness, right?
I don't think it's a consciousness, no.
Marissa.
제 말했다. 제 말해.
But it is a valid cognizer.
제가 저랑 기다다 노르키려도 때 노르데 도와.
Do you have to be a consciousness to be a cognizer?
제마인 몰라 되네 쉐바인 거라서.
maybe Shiba go Maris.
So this is what the Bible school says. In order to be a
Tenets.
valid cognizer, it doesn't have to be consciousness.
Okay.
제가 단다 저랑기 대비 lokso the love you know there.
So the one that you said, the definition, the consciousness, it says a non-deceptive consciousness that cognizes the manifest object.
Yep.
Yeah, so that is wrong then.
Okay. I'll write to Glenn. I'll write to him and tell him his book is wrong.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, you don't write that down. Okay. Do you find anything?
It is, I thought it was a consciousness. No, I didn't find anything. I'm just looking now.
Yeah. This is going to. Okay. But there just you Ricky, you upon?
I don't know if it's for Bhaskar school, but I thought I knew incontrovertible knower that is free from conceptuality. But that, I don't know if it's that. It's new,
Then
incontrovertible. That's like
Not the middle one.
Mulawa, then
knower. Knower is like awareness.
Then
That is free from conceptuality, free from.
Okay.
I don't know, but I don't know if that's this school or not. That's what I found on my homework.
Okay, Jennifer.
Well, the definition is from the Satantrika school,
Yeah.
and so, but the thing is for the Vaibhashika, because the valid direct cognizer is not pervaded by consciousness, it includes the sense power. So I couldn't find a definition, so I adapted that definition. I basically said a new incontrovertible knower and sense consciousness together with its sense power
Okay.
that is non-conceptual.
Go Bob.
Because it would have to be.
You have
together
some?
with the sense.
Okay. Janani the daughter than Ricky the Jennifer Chiban daughter. And you don't go with Bananzo Luri no ya. Sad the Melivery but Timothy Shirwa. Any Tesha will sad the Mulava said Shiba said and sad the Melivery Pakashina almost Chiba Tamama Chiva Shachin Bishers. Yet the sad the Mulava and do that Timothy. Only Sharami with Timothy the Neon Toma and your passion you are. And that's no dividend to kill that.
And so, yeah, so what Rika and Jennifer says is similar. So there's the definition that you mentioned is from the Satantrika school. It says that the knower that is new and incontrovertible, right? So, and so if you remove the knower, then just this is that is new and incontrovertible, then you can say that's the definition of the valid cognizer, drug valid cognizer, according to Bible school. So because I don't think that there is any text that explains what is the exact definition of the a drug a valid drug perceiver from the Bible school, and I've never seen, and I don't know exactly.
Maybe the Chagmarwa.
But of course, doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. Just because I haven't seen it doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
You can't just say new and incontrovertible as the definition is. It's an object or object possessor. It has, right? It's got to.
Carso.
Sarto Milova Chibulan Digmares. Did you the Eugenia Koshura? Sarto Miloda?
Yichila Malova Kariko. Nigga, you tell someone said the co, nigga, someone said the co, Yichila code that they Yilkia or matter.
So how will you how can you apply to the object, the new and incontrovertible?
They the sour is new
Possessor, but it's not. It's not an awareness, not a person, not. When you.
Incontrovertible.
Yes, that applies. It has to be if it's going to be a direct valid cognition. I mean, has to be incontrovertible because that counters a correct assumption.
Karo.
Use this word. You mean the object itself, right?
We're talking about a direct valid perceiver. What is the definition of a direct valid perceiver? So you can't just remove the knower, because it's not exclusively a consciousness. You can't just say, oh, it's new, incontrovertible, right? You have to. Why can't you just say that it's a consciousness, including this the uncommon empowering condition? Why couldn't you, along with its sense power, why couldn't you put that together? Because
What do you say?
instead of just having it be a knower, have it be consciousness together with its sense power.
Hello.
The rigba la the most because of Sodom rigba sigora. Rigba la the shabal kugora.
Yeah.
Rigba the Sodom rigba tang ongbo lan then digras. Then ongbo goes ongbo to the worst. Ongbo there to the worst. And the Sodom logical lava then the Kojimindus. Sodom rigba tang ongbo sama lava lambo lava and then Kojidus.
They were love to Kara and Cholan, Sad the Malvan Karkoyamada, never started there.
And yeah, you can say that too, but and Geshe said if you say only new and incontrovertible, and then what is the problem with that? Is there any contradiction to that?
You need to find something or contradict that. Sad the Malava Yingega Shiba in the Kano Samamang Rawarda.
So you have to find something that is new and incontrovertible, but not a valid direct perceiver.
An inferential cognition would be new and incontrovertible, but it doesn't fit the definition of a valid direct perceiver because it's not non-conceptual. It's conceptual.
So
무슨 제바 세마디 아니 서도 밀어레스
네
이나 서도 밀어레스 그것도 뭐있으나 제바 세마디 이제 세메신이라
제가 세면생이라고 하네.
네. So yeah, I mean we're talking about the or the 제바 서도 밀어레스 제바 세마디 이나 무슨 세마 말했어
알아라는 세면생이 알아라. 아무도 ten이더라면 내가 좀 이제 세면생이 shago서 사드 말리버리 반 세면생이 shago서
그래
야
무슨 세면생이 가르쳐
이건 세면생이 다 양식 삼는 셈바에 담는 됐다.
Yeah, that's you're right, like that. So we're talking about the new incontrovertible knower. Is the definition of the valid cognition, right? Usually, not the definition of the direct valid perceiver.
그래. 온봉에서 참아라.
So the direct valid perceiver is a valid perceiver, right? Valid cognition, right?
제당에 ten이다 참악되잖아 저기도. 라이라 사드 말하바데 라이라 사드 말하바데 아니 사람을 심디잖아 저기도.
세면생이 되겠어, 뭐?
라이라 사드 말하바데 시바자고 라이라 사드 말하바데 세면디잖아 저기도 알아. 셈점밀라. 내 렘보도 잘한다.
So if you say the a new and incontrovertible to one's object, is the definition of valid cognition in Bible school. Is that okay?
Okay. What's the problem?
It's because the provision's too big, because it can only be a consciousness or a sense power. So if you just say object, that includes
give me one example.
Book.
And the Terrain book the Rhino Sadamala.
No, to its object, not the whole object. So to its object, in new and incontrovertible to its object.
New and I didn't hear that. New and controversial.
New.
What?
New and incontrovertible to its object. To its object.
It's to its object.
Yeah.
Okay, it makes sense, Bob.
To its object means like whatever object that it is cognizing, right? The object has to be new and object has to be incontrovertible.
What eye knows is the eye object. What nose knows object. Right? What body knows is the body's object. What do you think, Mark?
Could you explain this? It says, all right, we're talking about them, so maybe we're confusing it with other schools.
No, don't go other schools, okay?
Right, that's my point. So they assert external objects exist first, right? But they don't assert self-cognizers.
Correct. So,
We're in the section of the
what page number are you?
yeah.
Should the doctrine about that?
No,
Pradeshika, Great
no, it's
Exposition
page
School,
number 3.
divisions.
No, we're in page number 3.
It doesn't matter what page we're on, it's either true or not.
We're talking about the mode of asserting object possessors.
Should the killing word that in a running killing of Maras.
That's right, that's true. But there's not any connection here. Okay, you're right, that's right. Okay, Jennifer, read the Rayel Assad Malawa, Semitishana, and Joy the Mayor. Rayul Assad Malawa.
No, Carso, Rayula South Melissa, Rayul, the dinner Saba in Batam, I'm Milo.
Rang huge gold, Rang you tell us, and Malawa imba, and it tells us how come you go, Tongish.
So, you know, so if you say as a new and incontrovertible to its object, will that be okay to say that that's the definition of the value cognition?
New and incontrovertible. Well, what about is it non-conceptual? It's gonna be if it's a direct valid cognition, right?
무슨 말아? 제목을 아세요?
Yeah, Timothy, what's the moment?
No, not the direct valid perceiver, valid direct perceiver, but valid cognizer.
New and incontrovertible to
His own object.
I just don't get that. I don't understand. Like
Rangita Kora, Shiba, you go, Shiba, you go by.
Yeah, because it has its object, right? It has its object. Like each consciousness has its object.
When a Zukti Mishi Yeroa, turn the Nashi Yeroa.
Like the form, you know, is the object of this eye consciousness, and the sound is the object of the ear consciousness, and smell is the object of the nose consciousness, right? That, right? So each consciousness has its one object.
we call it an object possessor then?
Yeah, it is object possessor. Yes.
Then why didn't you say new
Right.
incontrovertible object possessor?
Correct.
Ale, 코라스나 모라스나다 사도 밀로비 유전스나 칼렉스.
Other Melu Yichel,
아,
I chase in the young Canela.
지금부터 유전하고도 리볼로 찍어도 그러잖아.
Yeah, the Yichel and Shiba Kurumero.
그래, 나 가사네 가다 유전라 가사야라. 자다 가사야라.
Yeah, Dada Kaza, I need some of your Rosh Nichel. Jetta that Kaja the Carter. Some other day, the Madio came in, Kaja Sharamula, Semitis, so crumble Omari. And in Dodi with the 2 quantity part query.
Yeah, so there's no clear definition of this valid cognition, even the valid cognition, and then the valid direct perceiver. There's no a clear definition of this. So you can just, but what you understand is that if it is direct perceiver, it's not necessary to be consciousness. So that's what you have to understand. So then according to that, then you can build the definition on your own, and you can take copy some from the South Antigua school and then apply that.
Yeah, the royal Melu, each and desert. Each and draw low, any color somebody.
Yeah, you can say, maybe then you can say that the object possessor. New incontrovertible object possessor, because that includes the sound, the person, and the consciousness also, right?
Okay. Then
To go as the dasha. Okay, so we'll never come to the end if we debate. So anyway,
Okay.
you can think about it.
Okay, homework. What's homework? What's homework?
If it exists, is it necessary to be abandoned according to the Vaibhashika?
Okay, okay. This is a very complicated question, okay? You have to find, okay? Okay. Because if it exists, you have to bind it, then you have to lot of debates coming, okay? You have to debate yourself or your guys, okay? Then we stop. So you puji shu yang me do do rang le yin yin de jian bai de sang ji xi de me de ba ba yin ro ge nam do xin do shu bar shu yi dang ge ro ran nam da la ge na ya ta ya mo ka ro ra yo ko we shin go zo pen dang de wa ma lin ju ne xie re zo wa de de xia be sen zi ba de de ju ji jang ba pa wu chi de jian ba no kun zo sang bo de ya de ji 야다 그지 지서 달로시 개완도 동탐 처럽도 태섬 셔베 자와탐 제 모와 가는 초 다진 개외 자완도 개자 상보 쇼쇼럽도 거 just okay thank you just make more comfort okay okay Mark good are you have become enlightened
I wake up when we argue.
yeah we sure you're when you wake up tomorrow you already enlightened check okay okay guys good night you guys very easy just turn off then go back these guys have to go far away